Good afternoon. I'm Dennis Galucki. Welcome to the 534th Imagine Buffalo program and our 156th Imagine Greater Buffalo YouTube program hosted by our wonderful Buffalo and Erie County Public Library. Thanks for joining us today. This program is created by the Center for the Study of Art, Architecture, History, and Nature, or C-SAAHN, as I like to pronounce the acronym, and imaginelifelonglearning.com. Now, before we get started, just a little housekeeping. Everyone watching will be muted and your video turned off. If you do have a question or comment, please type it into the chat box and we'll go through them at the end of the presentation. We are recording this program so you can watch it again later on the Downtown Central Library's Facebook page and YouTube channels. And certainly we hope you share the link with others. Now, on to our featured speaker. Scott Ekstrom has served as director of the Smith Memorial Library since 2015, having previously worked for the Chautauqua bookstore and ticket office. Before coming to Chautauqua, Scott began his career as an English teacher, worked as an actor in touring and regional theater, and ministered with numerous nonprofits. A native of Chautauqua County, Scott received his bachelor's degree in English from Houghton College in New York before studying at the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art, earning a master's degree through King's College London in the United Kingdom. As a freelance writer, Scott has published a spiritual memoir entitled Confessions of a Christian Sinner and is currently at work on a follow-up book, Sainthood for the Middle-Aged. Now, let's hear from our speaker and friend, Scott Ekstrom. Scott, take it away.
Hey, Dennis, it's good to see you. So I mentioned earlier in private chat, good to see you in April. It's usually just the summer season when we see you here at the library. I think the only thing that matters that you need to take away from that kind introduction from my bio is that I'm a character actor in real life. So we'll fake it together, which is true of so much of life, right?
You're on.
We were talking about the title of this talk. Dennis was saying that he appreciated that I had chosen the title, and I didn't remember that I had chosen it. And it turned out it was typed as something different. But a library as cultural center, library as community by design, it's all true.
It's the center. It's the center, Scott.
Yeah, it's the center. We like to think of ourselves as a community center at Chautauqua. So just a few facts about our library. We were founded in 1931. We are owned and operated by Chautauqua Institution, and which is our primary funder. That makes us an association library, and we're part of the Chautauqua Cattaraugus Library System, a great system collection of 38 branches down here in Chautauqua County. And I wanted to just, I'll just talk for a few minutes, and then I'll show a few pictures of this beautiful place in our community, and then Dennis will interrupt me with any questions. So I was thinking, first of all, recently we had a little article in the Jamestown Post Journal about our seed library. Like many libraries, we have a collection of a seed catalog, not a place where you can order seeds, but we give away seeds to people. And there was a little article in the paper, and somebody was saying, complimenting us about it, and said, it's good for people to know that libraries are not just about books. And I took the compliment, and I absolutely want people to think that, but it also got me thinking, we are more than just books, but we are not less than books. Books still matter, and a library, by definition, is a collection of something. And what we have more of than anything else in our collection are books. And libraries are also, incredibly, have always been adaptable. We adapt to technology, we respond to community demands. And the reason we still have thousands of books in this library is that every year we do an analysis of the circulation of those books and, see what is still recommended, what is still being checked out. And every year the shelves stay very full because the community is checking out those books. But you may have noticed libraries, I'm happy to say, in my little career here so far, have really had a moment of a lot of excitement in the culture about libraries. And I think this was a relief to some, because painting in broad strokes, you might say about 20 years ago, when ebooks were a new thing, there was some thought, some chatter in and out of the library world, like, what are, if everybody's going to be reading books on their devices, what do we need buildings for? And for right or for wrong, that certainly became an impetus for libraries to be remembering that they are community centers and to go all in with community programming. Not that that was anything new. I've read stories about our library in the off season decades ago having spelling bees for fun, having, talent shows. That's nothing new. But it turned out, as the years have gone by over the last decade or so, that Gen Z loves print books, that the millennial parents who are bringing their young kids to the library are a big part of what keeps us going. And we are happy to be here and continue to offer those books. But another thing that we are, and this is all getting toward the point of community, is a library is also a building. We happen to be in a beautiful 1931 Neo-Georgian building, which I'm very thankful for, with all respect toward brutalist mid-century buildings with no aesthetic appeal and natural light. We are gratefully in the opposite. And so we take great care in our building when we do little remodeling projects or buy furniture. We don't just buy the latest commercial grade industrial things. We're thinking about, what adds to our aesthetic story, but we're not doing that to be highfalutin. We're not doing that to be a museum, which a library is not, unless it's a living museum. But part of what we want to do is, through our very building and the way we take care of it, offer an aesthetic experience. It is a cathedral of learning, in a sense, where people come together, and we give that to all people, regardless of whether they're donors, whether they're taxpayers, whether they have a library card. Anybody can come into this beautiful space, and whether they're extroverts who want to talk with each other, or introverts who just want an approximation of community, they can take in what this building has to offer. But most of all of that is just leading up to the fact that a library is a community. We have long thought of ourselves primarily as a community center. And not long ago, there was a patron in the library that, well, I should just say, I'm not going to talk about patrons, but we are not a quiet library like many libraries have become. We've had signs up before that say no shushing allowed, and conversation encouraged. And there are quiet rooms you can reserve. There are quiet corners that you can find. You can put on noise canceling headphones, but you might need them, because sometimes, especially in the summer, there could be hundreds of people in here and they're talking. My favorite thing to see in the library is having it used as an intergenerational community room. And that's where I was just going to say, someone overheard somebody telling a patron telling other patrons a year or so ago, you know, pipe down, this is not your living room. And I thought, that's exactly wrong. That's exactly the opposite of how we want people to think. We do want them to think of this as their living room. You may remember 20, 30 years ago, as Starbucks was really taking off as a global brand, that a big part of its appeal was not just the coffee, but it was offering what sociologists refer to as a third space. So you have your first space as home, you have your second space as work, and then you have a third space where you need to gather, unwind, maybe have a little different perspective on your day. And historically, for some people, maybe that's been a house of worship, or it's been a community service organization, but it also very much, especially at Chautauqua, can be a library. And I love to see in our children's room, which is behind where I am right now, and we're closed, by the way. The library's closed on Tuesdays in the non-summer months. But I love to see multiple generations of families playing a game together, reading a book together, being on tablets together, and sitting on the floor. And I like nothing better. And that's one of the reasons I'm happy to work here most of the time rather than up in an office tucked away. We have in the summertime, somebody recently said to me, oh, you're really busy in the summer. You have maybe a couple hundred people in a day. No, on a busy day in the summer in the library, we have 1,000 people. They're not all here at the same time. They might only be here for 5 minutes at a time, but there's a constant flow of people through our doors. And that is part of what makes it so exciting. But even in the winter, on a busy day, we could have 100 people in here. Now, we don't take people's names. That's a laser counter. It might be 20 people 5 times or 5 people 20 times. We don't know. But people are what make the library all it is. We offer, like all libraries, various amenities. A key one is office services, Wi-Fi and printing. Lots of people do work here. And in the summer, when people are on vacation at Chautauqua Institution, they're often in small rentals without a lot of quiet space. So they can reserve a room here to work, to do a Zoom call, that sort of thing. But I have joked, though I don't know that it is a joke, that our staff in the summer spend about 1/3 of their time helping people print from their mobile phones. And people are so grateful for that. But of course, that's not just something extra. That is what libraries do. That's what librarians have always done. We help people with whatever their needs are, for information, for fun, for leisure. And we do so in a way that is equitable, inclusive, non-judgmental, and we hope ennobling to the people that we are getting to know and providing services for. And of course, the library, like all the libraries, is open to be used by the community in a equally accessible way. Primarily that is in our community room, our classroom upstairs. We've had the Lions Club, we've had various denominational groups use that to present their own programs that are not sponsored by the library, but we're happy to have that space used. And then finally, I would just mention that many libraries have become all about programming. We not so much. We spent a lot of time meeting the daily needs of folks and their printing and finding books, etc., and curating our collection very carefully. And we're surrounded by programs. But we do, especially in the summer, we have a lot of authors stopping in, giving talks, various experts leading. And then our favorite programs are for kids, story time a couple times a week, reading to therapy, dog, other book talks, and in the past we've had finance discussions, knitting games, pop-up gift wrapping station at Christmas time, all sorts of things. But I thought I would take a moment and share a few pictures so you can stop looking at me and see if this works. All right, unless I hear otherwise, I'm assuming you can see me and the slides, and I'll move forward.
You can.
Good, thank you, Dennis. All right. So this is our library on Bester Plaza in the center, the cultural center of Chautauqua. And you can't see our doors behind the fountain there, but most of the time, one of the advantages to not having air conditioning, as much as I may complain about that on a hot day, but one of the advantages is our front doors are wide open. And that is also intended to be a metaphor saying we are open-minded, open to receive you as our guest. But here is yesterday. This doesn't look very welcoming, but this was yesterday afternoon during the eclipse. The library looks a little scary, but it was a fun day. This was Saturday. We don't normally do story time in the off season, but we had some families in town that had requested it. And so Miss Judy put together a little eclipse story time for kids and their parents and grandparents, and everybody got Oreos at the end, and a good time was had by all. One of our high points in the summertime, in the summer season, is Library Day. Here you have an annual kazoo chorale that used to be part of Library Day, which is a fundraiser for the Friends of the Library and also just a celebration of libraries in general. But the kazoo chorale became such a big thing that it's become its own event, and there were over 100 people playing kazoos together. I was the volunteer conductor last August. Why, you asked, do we do this? No good reason, except that it's fun and people love it. Beauty, just outside the window here, Four Seasons. And this, in particular, reminds me of, you can see in the background there are some of our beautiful windows letting in natural light, which makes us a great habitat for plants. And most of them have been given to us by patrons. Some we take care of for the winter, and others are here permanently. Like our newest addition, this is a 75-year-old orange tree that came to us from the estate of one of our dearly departed patrons. It was a book talk in February. And who is that guy? Dennis, how did you get in here? Dennis leads our Art of Investing classes on Mondays at 4 in the library during the 9-week Chautauqua season. You may have seen this cartoon. I have no problem with little free libraries, but also like to remind people we are free as well. And eventually we thought, if you can't beat them, join them. That's our little red wagon that we take around the grounds and let people just take a book without having to check it out. Few quick pics of our book. And this picture, just a couple more, I wanted to point out, I love it, both literally and metaphorically. You can look in the background and you can see our beautiful antique lights and some art on the wall and a wonderful collection of books. But in the foreground, well, other than the New Yorker on the return card, you see people Christmas caroling for one of our oldest and dearest patrons who made a request on the spot, and they sang beautifully. One thing that's interesting about our libraries are, of course, non-sectarian, non-judgmental. We try to bend over backwards to offer services to all without a limiting perspective. But we do that at Chautauqua in the context of an interfaith community. So we happen to have a lot of religious books because patrons request them. But whatever you believe, food always brings people together. So we give an annual holiday lunch as pictured here, and had 160 or so of our dearest friends stop in for a full lunch. Oh, here's another celebrity, my friend Liz, finishing a puzzle here, and some books that we were getting ready to give away because we don't have a workspace. We were doing that right in the children's room. Another exciting celebrity appearance, Kwame Alexander, Chautauqua Institution's new artistic director of literary arts, stopped by last year, and the staff were happy to meet him. As we were the Librarian of Congress, Dr. Carla Hayden, last year. I noticed a moment ago that I'm wearing the same shirt today as I was in that slide, which is really an appeal for library funding. Helps librarians put new shirts on their back. Games we offer with no library card required. And this is our second to last picture. We see the Lions Club giving a presentation about Helen Keller, who had come to Chautauqua with Alexander Graham Bell. And community room, that is the way I like to think of the library. And final reminder, one of our chalk signs from this summer, Chautauqua County Day. It's a day that we invite all residents of Chautauqua County to come to the Chautauqua Institution for free, and it's August 1st this year. And though that does remind me, you can anytime, even during the season, the 9-week Chautauqua season, when the gates are closed. We can't take care of your parking, but you can always ask for a library card to, of course, come to the library for free. And that's what I have for now, Dennis. What do you think?
I think that was a wonderful summary, and great to see those pictures, and those of us who enjoy a Chautauqua experience in our life have enjoyed it. It's nice to see it right up to current events of watching a solar eclipse yesterday. Scott, thank you. You really are the center of that. Of the community. I'll add one more point. Buffalo Day at Chautauqua has a component that I put the day before at the library, and this year that'll be Buffalo Day is July 23rd, Tuesday, but the Monday before, the day before, we'll have a speaker from the Western New York Sustainable Business Roundtable representing that and explaining that'll fit into the theme that we're working on for Buffalo Day. So stay tuned for that. Folks, by the way, everybody from Buffalo in zip codes 14201 to 14280, that's 44 different zip codes. They're free for the day. The families, everybody's free for the day. So, take advantage of that, spread the word to others, and off you go. You've got something similar that you started after we did Buffalo Day of Chautauqua Day, and I'm glad to hear that. Is there a specific date this year, Scott, that's
Yeah, it's August 1st, and it's tied in with, you can come and see the author Eric Gansevoort, who wrote the book Apple, that there's a discussion about happening throughout Chautauqua County in the coming weeks. So folks can have those book discussions here and then come and see him on August 1st.
I think that's within the week, isn't it, that you're celebrating really your 150th anniversary Chautauqua institution, isn't
Well,
that?
we're celebrating it all season for sure.
But usually you have that first week in August, seems like an important date.
I think the next week is Old First Night.
So I'm a week early then. Okay, good. Other than that, any questions coming in from our audience regarding, this is Library Month. That's why I wanted to always focus on some library. But this is a very unique one in our region, obviously. Melissa, what do we have?
Yes, we do have a few questions. Dennis, I know you just mentioned it's Library Month. It is also National Library Week, and today is Library Workers Day, so cheers to all of us. A couple of questions. First, how do you balance budget considerations for paper books versus ebooks that people could check out via Libby or other apps like that?
Yeah, we have increased our giving to digital books significantly over the last 5 to 10 years as demand has risen. But we kind of are at a point where, if you get to 25% or so of your digital budget, of your book budget going digital, you can't really do much more. And so we're sort of like many libraries, I think, around the country. We're sort of at a place where, we want to get books to people however they want them, and digital is one of the best ways. But you may get a book faster by putting a hold on the physical book. And hopefully if you do both, you return or refuse what you don't need, so it moves on to the next person.
Since the institution has its own archives on the grounds as well, I'm curious about the intersection or relationship between the Smith Library and the Chautauqua archives.
Well, the archivist, John Schmitz, is a colleague and friend of mine. So we're positioned in the same department, the education department, which is also the same department that programs the flagship 1045 lecture in our season. We don't actually work a lot together on programming, but we do a lot of referrals back and forth. So a common example would be somebody comes to the library first to ask a question or ask it remotely about Chautauqua history. We're basically looking at what we can find from our books and what is public information. And then for more specialized information, we're referring them to the archives.
And could you just confirm again, I think you mentioned it, but if someone wants to visit the library, do they have to pay for a ticket to get into Chautauqua? How does that work?
No. So of course, anybody can come to the library year round. In the 9-week Chautauqua Summer Assembly season, it is a gated community. And it becomes, in many ways, like a very dense urban environment. So similar to many city libraries, we can't do anything about parking. So you may have to get a ride or pay for parking. But you can, in the ticket office request for pass to the library. And that's good for a few hours during library hours, and it is free.
Perfect, thank you. Dennis, those were the questions that we had.
All good questions. Scott, any last words that you want to offer that invite people to explore, obviously not just the grounds, but the community itself, off season or certainly during the 9-week season? Any reflections that you've had just from your perspective?
Yeah, I think there are lots of reasons to come to Chautauqua. You could come just because it's beautiful. You could come because it's a great place to relax. But it is really interesting to me that coming to the library every day is a really central part of a Chautauquan vacation for so many Chautauquans.
Mhm.
And if you're not a library person, and that sounds strange to you, give us a try. We'll give a library card to anybody.
Well, Scott, you've been a wonderful host for the class that I do present. This will be the 15th season, every Monday at 4 o'clock. And it's in that upper left-hand room of that wonderful picture you showed of the red brick road or walkway to the front door, around the fountain like that, and in the square, in the town square. It's an idyllic American view and place. It's magical in many ways. And I encourage people to, certainly from Buffalo, take advantage of Buffalo Day at Chautauqua. And if you're from Chautauqua, take advantage of Chautauqua Day for the whole county. And at least experience it with your family if possible. It'll be a lifelong memory if you do so, if you haven't been there before. So we will thank you, Scott, very much. Celebrate libraries as we do this month, and specifically this week and day, the employees themselves. So thank you for being a loyal employee, and hats off to all of the other library staff that I get in contact with here in my life at this point. So and thank you folks for joining us. We hope you come back next week. We're going to be hearing from David Rust, and David is the Chief Executive Officer of Say Yes Buffalo. They've been making some headline news recently, especially as they connect Buffalo and Niagara Falls together with various projects. So look forward to hearing from David Rust, and looking forward to seeing you back here next Tuesday, and life willing every Tuesday, at the same time, same place. Thanks again to the library for being our host today. I'm Dennis Galucki. Be well and good day.